You may be surprised to hear me say this, but not every single decision that you make should be regarding the numbers. I have to remind myself of this all the time. Sometimes I feel really guilty because all I do is think about the numbers and talk about the numbers and the investment returns on this and the returns on that. It's a good thing I'm married because my wife always reassures me. She says, Bryce, it's not that you're greedy, it's just that finance is your life. You love math, you love the numbers. It's more than just a hobby to you. It's so easy to bring numbers and finance and money into everything that we do. Should we go on vacation? Well, it depends on how much it costs. Should we do this? Well, it just depends on if we can afford it or not. And this is probably more a video for myself than it is for you guys, because I have to always tell myself and remind myself that not everything is about the numbers all the time. That's really just not a good way to live your life. I think there are a lot of different factors that we need to take into account when we make decisions, and money is absolutely one of those, but it's not everything. You guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Bryce with Sane Sense, where we talk about everything money, personal finance, real estate, financial independence, you name it. If you like financial videos just like this one, be sure to give me a thumbs up if you could, because it really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you love videos like this, please be sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. I find myself calculating ROI a lot. And if you're not sure what ROI is, that's the return on investment. I'm constantly looking at returns. I'm always weighing the pros and cons, and I almost just do it subconsciously without even thinking. If my wife and I are out looking at a potential investment property, she'll look over at me and kind of chuckle to herself and say, okay, what's the ROI? And it's funny because she knows me so well that she knows that I've already done the numbers and I've already done the math without even thinking about it. But not everything in life has a return on an investment. Actually, that's a lie. Everything in life does have a return on your investment, but it might not be monetary. But even if it's not a monetary return, it's okay, because there are a lot of things in life that are just really worth taking the loss from a financial perspective. Health, for example, is one of the major things, and health is just something that you don't mess around with. If you need an ambulance, you need an ambulance. If it's an emergency, like you make that phone call regardless, knowing that it's going to be really expensive. It's an emergency and you need somebody there right now. Yeah, like I said, they're expensive. I mean, just a 2 or 3 mile drive from where you're currently at to the hospital in an ambulance could be $800 to $1,000 easy. But like I said, it's an emergency, and those are things you just don't mess around with. If you're headed to the hospital, you don't just sit there and call up a bunch of different hospitals and say, okay, well, what would this cost me? And you don't try to figure out which hospital's cheaper. You go to the hospital. With everything in life, there absolutely has to be a balance, and health is no different. I think, unfortunately, when it comes to health, you kind of just do what has to be done and deal with the financial consequences later. And a small side note, if you don't have health insurance, please buy it. Buy it today. I mean, it is really so worth it, because if you get some unexpected medical bill, I mean, you could be spending thousands out of pocket. I know it might be tough to say, hey, I can't afford health insurance right now. Just get it today. Along with health, there's a lot of other preventative things that we can do, not necessarily like health emergencies. For example, there's vitamins, there's health supplements, there's gym memberships. This was kind of an entire world that I didn't really realize existed until I got married. My wife, she's really into health, and before we got married, I'd have to say that I really wasn't all that worried about my health. But my wife, for example, she's really into fitness. She's really into eating right, eating healthy, and just having an overall healthy lifestyle. Before I met her, I didn't realize how much a lot of these things cost. I mean, you go to the grocery store and you could buy a bag of cereal in bulk, or you could buy organic produce, and absolutely the produce is going to be more expensive. Sometimes I struggle to look at our card statements and think, yeah, because that's a lot of money on vitamins, that's a lot of money on supplements. But like I said, this is something that I've kind of come to realize, is that when it comes to your health, you really just don't mess around. I know the purpose of this video is trying to view things without looking through a financial lens, but even if we are looking through a financial lens, taking care of your health now can actually have humongous monetary gains later on down the road. I mean, think 30 or 40 years down the line, come retirement time, if you're in good health, you can be saving tons of money. There's a lot of things that add up really, really quickly with health and hospice and you name it, and it's so worth it to invest that time and money now to take care of yourself. Another one of these is, in my book, vacations and experiences. You know, just kind of breaking away from the norm, doing something different than your ordinary day-to-day routine. A lot of these things add up really quick. It's so easy for these to kind of escalate out of control because, vacations and experiences, they're expensive. Last week, my wife and I, we just got back from Orlando, and it was supposed to be a quick, weekend trip, 3 or 4 days, and it easily cost us 2 to 3 times more than we had initially budgeted. It's really hard to see that money just kind of slipping out of your account when you've worked so hard to build that up and it grows so slowly. Most of the times though, when I look back at vacations and trips that we've taken, I think to myself, wow, that was such a fun trip. Remember when we did this, we did that, it was so much fun. And I very rarely think back and say to myself, ugh, we spent so much money. And remember how awful that was? In my mind, the memories themselves are just priceless to pay for these experiences. I think having a vacation fund and a vacation budget is so important, even if there's no monetary returns on it whatsoever. Growing up as a kid, I had a very comfortable lifestyle. I was raised by a good family. I had a mom and dad in the house, and we were probably your average middle-class family. Now, while we were getting by just fine, there really wasn't a lot of extra. We had enough to cover our bills, but when it came to fancy vacations or trips, we just really didn't have the money for it. I felt that most months we kind of just made ends meet. We scraped by and there really just wasn't a lot extra. So needless to say, growing up, we took very few vacations. I mean, honestly, maybe 3 or 4 that I can remember over my entire childhood. And even when we did take vacations, I remember to this day how stressful they were. They were really stressful for my parents because they just didn't have a lot of money to do all the extras that we wanted to do. I remember one vacation in particular, we went to an amusement park. And when you've got a family of 6 people, even just the entrance fee, the ticket that you have to buy to get into the park, that adds up really quickly. I remember it was a hot day. It was in Utah during the summertime. It was probably 90, 95 degrees out. And we were all so thirsty. And my dad, I love the guy, but he's so cheap. He is so cheap. My dad refused to buy 1 or 2 water bottles because they were charging $3.50. Sadly, I don't look back on that vacation as a kid with really fond memories. I don't remember anything else about that trip except that we were tired and we were thirsty and we wouldn't buy water. And you know what? I'm not disagreeing with my dad. Like $3.50 is really outrageous to pay for a water bottle when you can go to Walmart and buy a water bottle for 25 cents, or you can find a drinking fountain. When you're there and you're in the moment, I think it's just more important to do what needs to be done and spend the money, even though you may spend more than you were hoping, or you could have put that money elsewhere and saved more money. It's all part of the experience. And really, truly, I believe that the memories and the experiences are more important than the money. Now, of course, this is it's not a hall pass. This is not say, okay, well, just go spend money frivolously. No, that's not what I'm saying. If you're in financial distress, you should not go crazy and just buy whatever you want. What I'm trying to say is that when it comes to life, there are a lot of things that are more important than trying to save money, pinch pennies here, or the investment returns that you could have made had you not spent that money. Another one, and the last one that we're talking about today, is paying off debt. When you're in the middle of paying off debt and you're looking at this humongous mountain that you have to climb to pay off all this debt, I think it's important that you celebrate the small wins. I really have a hard time with Dave Ramsey and his beans and rice scenario. I definitely think you should cut back. I think you should make paying off your debt a priority. But I also think that you need to celebrate when you pay off even a small amount of debt. When you pay off that very first chunk of debt, that first milestone, that's huge. I mean, that really is an event worth celebrating. I mean, when you think about it, you've started down this incredible journey. You have totally changed the trajectory of your life and your family's lives because of what you're willing to do. And I think that's worth celebrating, even a small victory. It's really easy to think, yikes, I mean, we could go out to dinner, but that's kind of expensive. I mean, if we take that $30 we were gonna spend, we could put it on our next debt, and we could just get moving and keep rolling. And you know what, I guess if you wanna do that, that's fine. But in my mind, it's important to celebrate the small wins, the small victories, because it gives you that incentive to keep going and keep pressing on. And if you're just always scrimping and saving, sometimes you might just kind of snap and say, ugh, I'm so done with this. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm tired of paying off debt. I'm done. To sum all of this up, especially for you savers and you penny pinchers out there, I think just the point of this video is to say it's not always about the money, and it's okay to loosen up from time to time. Try to think of the other factors, not necessarily just the financial ones in any given situation. I did another video somewhat similar to this one where I talk about the latte factor, and I'll be sure to link that up here somewhere. And if you haven't watched that one, I highly recommend it because it just kind of goes into detail talking about my philosophy, how I feel about saving money, investing money, but also enjoying yourself and enjoying your lifestyle at the same time. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please be sure to give me that thumbs up. And of course, if you loved this video, be sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. That's it for now, and we'll see you guys in the next video.